Hi guys, today we're going to work on lesson 3.2 and it's on the place value of decimals. When we worked in chapter 1 with whole numbers, we talked about expanded form, word form, and standard form. We're going to review those again today with actually using decimals. But before we get into the actual bookwork of it, I wanted to show you this. So this is a place value chart, and if you notice, I have the decimals highlighted. So when we start talking about decimals in expanded form, this is how we write decimals in expanded form. Okay, so tenths is 1 over 10, hundredths is 1 over 100, and thousandths is 1 over 1,000. Pretty easy when you think about it. So we actually write them as fractions. So let's look at page 157. It says, unlock the problem. The Brooklyn Battery Tunnel in New York City is 1 726 thousandths miles long. It is the longest underwater tunnel for vehicles in the United States. To understand this distance, you need to understand the place value of each digit in 1 726 thousandths. You can use a place value chart to understand the decimals. Whole numbers are to the left of the decimal point. So if we look here, this on the left-hand side is whole numbers. And decimals are to the right of the decimal point. So from here over are decimals. So we could even kind of underline those so you know what the colors mean. The thousandths place is to the right of the hundredths place. So in 5th grade, we only work with the first 3 place values. So you have tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. In the chart here, you can see that at the top, they wrote in the number. So 1 number in each place value. Then the next step down shows it in expanded form. So this one here is expanded. And if you notice here, it says value. So they both are going to show value. But if I were to ask you what is the value of the 7, this is what you would write on your paper. You would write 0.7. That is the value of the 7 in that number. So as you can see, it has, if we go back to the expanded, it has 1 times 1 because 1 is in the ones place. For tenths, it has 7 times 1 tenth. Why? Because I have 7 tenths, and we talked about a tenth is represented as 1 tenth. Hundredths is 2 times 1 hundredths because I have 2 100ths. 6 times 1 thousandth because I have 6 of them. Pretty self-explanatory, right? So here it says the place value of the digit 6 in 1.726 is thousandths. The value of 6, and we talked about it already, would be 0.006. So here they just list out standard form. So remember, that's writing the number out in numbers. Word form would be writing it out using letters. And you would say it is 1 726 thousandths. And remember, when we're dealing with decimals, you need to have that THS ending. And then for expanded form, you would just take everything up here and put it together with plus signs, which is what they did here. Could you technically do this with parentheses? Sure, absolutely. If you're comfortable doing it like that, which that's how I like it. It kind of groups everything together. You can, but you don't have to do it. So let's look down here. It says, try this. Use place value to read and write decimals. Standard form is 2 35 hundredths. Word form, so exactly how I just said it. And actually, let me... if it wants to work for me here. See if it worked. There, well, it must have a space there. So 2 and 35 hundredths. Okay. And expanded form. So let's see, they have 2 times 1, so that would handle, this digit. And now I move into the tenths place value. So that is going to look like 3 times 1/10, because I have a 3 in the tens. And then I have a 5 in my hundredths, so it's going to be plus 5 times 1/100. Okay? Okay, the next one for B, we do not have the standard form, but we do have the word form, and it says 3 and. So I can go ahead and put 3 decimal, because and is my decimal. 614 thousandths. So 614 thousandths. Remember that the last digit has to end in the desired place value, which in this case was thousandths, and our 4 does end in the thousandths position. Now we have to go ahead and do the expanded form for this one. So we start with a whole number, and it's going to be 3 times 1 plus 6 times 1/10. Then we're moving into our hundreds. We only have 1, so it's still going to be 1 times 1/100. And then we have a 4 in our thousand, so it's 4 times 1/1000. Okay? All right, let's look at the next one. Example, use a place value chart. A common garden spider spins a web with its silk that is about 3/1000 millimeter thick. A commonly used sewing thread is about 3/10 millimeter thick. How does the thickness of the spider's silk and thread compare? So this time we're actually comparing 2 different numbers. So first thing we need to do is says write the numbers in the place value chart. So the first one I'm going to write in is 0.3. And then the next one was 0.003. So number 2 says, count the number of decimal place value positions to the digit 3 in both numbers. So let's see. If we look at these, it says 3/10 has blank fewer decimal places than 3/1000. If you guessed 2, you're right. Because right here we have 2. 2 fewer decimal places, 10 times 10 equals what? 100. So 3/10 is 100 times as much as 3/1000. Because remember, the closer to the decimal, the bigger the number. The farther away from the decimal, the smaller the number. The next one I have is 3/1000 is blank of 3/10. So we're talking about hundreds, right? So if we look at it the opposite direction, it would be 1/100th of 3/10. So the thread is 100 times as thick as the garden spider's silk. The thickness of the garden spider's silk is 1/100th that of the thread. Okay? Down here, it says use place value patterns, rename 3/10 using other place values. Okay, so the first one's done for us. The 3 is the only one that is highlighted in blue. So the value of that would be 3/10, also represented as 3 times 1/10, right? The next one is the 3 and the 0 that are highlighted. So that would give us 30 hundredths, because it'd be here, and also 30 times 1/100. Next, we have the 300 in blue. So this time it would be 300, but 300 what? So I went tens, hundreds, it would be thousandths. So here I would write 300 times 1/1000. Okay? All right, let's see here. Let's do a little practice on here before I leave you with your homework, because your homework looks pretty similar to this page. So right here it says complete the place value chart to find the value of each digit. So it has a number in standard form across the top. The next thing we need to do is finish up the expanded form right here. So 3 times 1 is my ones. Now I have tenths. So I know it's a 5. 5 times what? Well, tenths are represented as 1/10. Hundreds are done for me. Leaves me with the thousandths. This would be 4 times 1/1000. And then last is to fill in the values. So we obviously know 3 ones is equal to 3. 5/10 would be represented as 0.5. 2 hundredths would be 0.02, because the 2 has to be in the hundreds place. And thousandths would be 0.004, because it would have to be in the thousands place. Okay? Down here it says write the value of the underlying digit. So the 4 in this case is right here. And that is in the tens, hundreds. So that one's in the hundreds place. So actually, if you want, you can kind of just turn everything else in front of it into a 0. So it becomes 0.04. You actually just eliminate anything that comes after it, and anything before it becomes a 0. Does that make sense? The next one is 6 and 234 thousandths. This time the 2 is underlined, and that one is in the tenths place value. So the value of that digit would not be 6.2, it would just be 0.2, because we're just saying the value of the underlying digit. The next one, 3 and 954 thousandths, the 4 is underlined. That is in the thousandths position. So all the other positions become zeros, and the 4 stays in the third place after the decimal. The next ones, you have to write the number in 2 other forms. So they're both written in standard form. So you're looking at writing it into word form and expanded form. So for this one, we can go ahead and start with word form first. So this one would be 7 and, for the decimal, 632, and it ends a third place after the decimal, so that is in the thousandths position. Okay? 7 and 632 thousandths. Now to write it in expanded form, so we move left to right, 1 digit at a time. The 7 is in the ones place value, so I would do 7 times 1 plus, next I have the 6, and that's in the tens, so times 1/10. Next is a 3, and that is in the hundredths. Next is the 2, and that is in the thousandths. And that's it. And then down below, it seriously just repeats itself exactly what we just did. So let's go ahead and look at your homework. Your homework is page 161. And I asked you to do a couple problems here. And I just want to make sure I'm telling you the same problems as I have in our agenda. So you're going to do problems 1 through 12 all. So this one wasn't the one that jumps all over. So the only problem that you're not doing would be 13. So you can block that one out. And you're doing 1 through 12 all. Okay? And you're just doing the same thing that we just did. For 1 through 6, you're writing the value. And you can do it in words like they show you here, or you can do it in numbers, which is how they show you here. Either way is correct, but typically in math, they're going to be looking at this way. Then for 7 through 10, you're going to be doing 2 other forms. That means that you're going to give me expanded and word form for 7 through 10. And then 11 and 12 are story problems. This one down here is saying written in word form. And this one is written in expanded form. So should be easy enough. You guys should be pros at expanded form by now. Just keep watching this video or go back if you need to with help for your homework. And we'll go over it together tomorrow.